Hey, welcome to this next session of the PLX Summit Sales Day. I'm Kyle Schroeder, VP of Partnerships at Movable Inc., and excited to have all of you join us for this fireside chat with our CRO, Jeremy Seltzer. In this session, we're going to talk about how to turn your sales organization into your biggest cheerleader and what it means to really transform a go-to-market organization into someone that is truly partner first. And happy to say that that's something we've had success doing here at Movable Inc., and so we're going to walk through some of the examples and stories around how we've been able to make that happen within our organization. So to get us started, hand it over to Jeremy to provide a bit of an intro to himself.
Yeah, I'll keep it super brief. Thanks, Kyle. My name is Jeremy Seltzer. I am the Chief Revenue Officer here at Movable Inc. For those who are unfamiliar, Movable Inc. is one of the largest personalization technology providers in marketing technology today. We're about a 650 person company. Go-to-market organization is around about half of that. And we are growing every single day and excited to share some of our learnings from over 7 years of working together, Kyle, at Movable Inc. So this should be a fun session today.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll start there, right? Let's go back 7 years to those early days when I joined the organization. You were already here prior to that. What was partnerships like, and what do you kind of remember as we got started down this journey of building a partnerships organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I joined Movable, we were about a 30 person company, and I think it's common that startups of that size, right, recently raised a Series A, have a lot of bravado, a belief that they can build anything, that we can build something that's going to revolutionize. We don't need a partner, right? We're going to compete. We're going to take out all these companies along the way. And I think that's normal, and I think that's pretty healthy for a startup to have that type of a mentality. But pretty quickly we ran into trouble with that mentality, right? So I would notice as a salesperson and then as a sales manager back in those days that we would seemingly have a deal in hand. We had the better technology, we had the better solutioning. We were going on site visit, and we would lose deals to companies that were 10% our size with a technology not even half as good. And literally, we couldn't figure out what was going on, to the point that our then VP of sales believed that we had a mole, that there was somebody within our organization at Movable Inc. that was secretly leaking information to competitors, working against us, and causing us to lose deals. Well, the VP of sales was not correct, but there was no mole. But what there was on the other side, our competitors, was a partner ecosystem. See, our partners were leveraging, or sorry, our competitors rather, were leveraging the partner ecosystem to get these sort of seemingly unbiased third parties to refer them. And so when we went head to head into a deal with a big enterprise brand, we would find ourselves on the back foot, right? We were always playing from behind without knowing that, because all the partners that were already active in that account were referring our much smaller competitor into that account. And so we realized we needed to make some pretty big investments. One of those was bringing in Kyle Schroeder. Not to give myself too much credit because I wasn't directly responsible for that. But we got pretty serious at that point in time, say, hey, what do we need to do differently so that we can stop losing these small deals and continue to have outstanding success? And a huge part of that was the investment in the partner ecosystem. So happy to go much deeper on that, or we can take our time and talk about how we did that.
Yeah, and just for anybody that does have questions, feel free to be using the chat throughout this session with folks standing by to respond, and love to get your thoughts as we go through some of the details here. I guess really a basic question, Jeremy, like why should sales care about partnerships? As you talk to the AEs in the organization, why should they care? Why should they spend their time getting to know our partners, understanding what they do, and working with them?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kyle. So I think that's kind of where we started, right? Our effort was, hey, once the sales reps are seeing, hey, why aren't we winning these deals? What's happening here? What are our competitors doing better than us? Okay, how do we start to build that together, right? And the idea behind the partner ecosystem from day one was to try to impact our business across a variety of different key metrics. So the first one, which I've been describing, is our win rates. And we've seen through the data now, 7 years of data, that our win rates when partners are involved in those deals supporting us are nearly double when partners are not involved in those deals, right? The second main thing that the partner ecosystem is designed to do is drive lead gen. I think that's how most companies think about the partner ecosystem. I think it's a mistake to think about it exclusively that way, certainly from my experience. But it is an important component to it. And then there are two other elements that are critical to this. So the first for us, and I imagine is true for many other technology companies, is retention of our current clients through partner integration. So being a technology company, we now have, I think, about 130 different technology partners at Movable Ink that we integrate with natively into our platform. And we know that when our clients are integrating Movable Ink's technology with other players in their tech stack, everybody becomes more sticky, but also everybody, all the other players become more effective, right? The kind of the better together story, 1+1 = 3 kind of thing. So when we made our original investment in the partner ecosystem, that's actually what we led with. We were an early stage company that was focused on mitigating churn. And we said, this is something we can invest in to help us with churn and actually with retention metrics. And that has played out 1,000 times over. It's actually made our technology way more effective. It helps us with the win rates, and then it helps us with the lead gen. And as we see those stories come through, the question then became, okay, we know this is going to happen. We can see it. We can see it working with our competition. We can see it working in the field. How do we actually activate the entire sales field to get their buy-in on this, right? And that's the challenge, right? That's for what it's worth. I think that's the bigger challenge that go-to-market leaders and sales leaders face today is how do you actually create a team of believers across the sales organization? There's always going to be skeptics. We should always go have those conversations with those skeptics. Maybe we should let go of those skeptics. But we need to build those relationships at the individual level and get their individual buy-in to the partner ecosystem. And so one of the things we did, Kyle, like going back 6-7 years, was we realized that we had kind of the intuition and the data and the technology to make this ecosystem work. There were two things we were missing. The first was executive relationships, meaning I'm the CRO of Movable Ink. This is important to me, but do the VPs of sales and CROs across our partner ecosystem, is this important to them? Because if it's not important to them, then this isn't going to work. Once you get that buy-in, then you can go to the field. And for what it's worth, that's where the real magic happens with partnerships, right? We talk about how executives can get in a room and talk all day about partnerships and build these referral agreements and incentives and so on and so forth. But the real action happens in the field. And so I recall, Kyle, going back to the early days, one of the things we did, I remember, was like Q3 2017, 2016, 2017. We literally set up a Google sheet and said, every sales rep at Movable Ink this quarter needs to meet with 3 sales reps in their corresponding regions across our partner ecosystem that we're working on building. Take them to lunch. So if I'm a sales rep and I own the Boston area or I own New England, I'm going to find sales reps from company A, B, and C, and I'm going to go meet them because they also work that territory. I'm going to build those personal relationships. And so you need kind of that top-down effort to go with the bottom-up, to go with the tech, to go with the data and the metrics. I think that's led us to kind of where we are today and a lot of the success we've seen with our partner program at Movable Ink.
Yeah, I love the notion of the magic happens in the field. As a partner team, we do as much as we can to build those relationships and get to know folks, but you don't really get the scale until folks in the organization, the entire go-to-market organization, are able to build their own relationships to extend the reach of the partnership at all levels. I wanted to drill in on one thing. You mentioned the executive relationship component has been key for us. Could you just talk a little bit about why you spend time getting to know your peer CROs at our partner companies? What's the nature of those conversations? How do you make them, beneficial so that you don't feel like you're wasting your time on those calls? And what do you think's really the way to approach those for success?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I meet monthly or quarterly with sales executives at our top partners. And there are several objectives. For what it's worth, I think it's very similar to the way that, client services would work at an enterprise organization, where you're aligning with an executive and saying, hey, just want to recap kind of what are your priorities? Let me share a little bit about my priorities. Let me make sure those are being propagated through my organization. Are you seeing value in our relationship? How can you see more value in our relationship? How are we quantifying that value? So those relationships are always level setting. I then feed that back through my organization, and that helps us with prioritization and understanding, right? Because I view the partner ecosystem as much as my customers as my actual customers that are helping to pay the bill, right? That's just our philosophy at Movable Ink. It also helps me keep my pulse on the industry, right? Because we're partners, we're all operating in the same industry, the same space. those conversations can lead to me understanding the product innovations they're coming out with, the new integrations that we can set up to deepen and tighten our technical integrations with their technologies. And there's so many important things that come with it. But one of the things we often talk about is actually field education. So field education is really, really important. This is me or you, Kyle, getting out in front of a partner's team and vice versa, and doing that regularly. And the reason that's important is that there's a quote that stuck with me for many, many years, which is this idea that at the end of the day, sales reps or the field, right, if you have CSMs or CXMs at your organization, they're often asked by their customers about different technologies in the space. If you've become a trusted advisor to your enterprise clients, they should be coming to you and saying, "Hey, we're thinking about making an investment in X, Y, and Z area. What have you seen? Who are the big players, etc." And what we've noticed is that typically in those scenarios, what's being recommended is not necessarily the best technologies. It is the technologies that that individual knows best. I can't say that enough. The recommended technology is often not the best technology, but the technology that that individual knows best. And that, by the way, that was happening. That's what was happening to Movable Ink 7 years ago, right? We were being eliminated from the conversation by the fact that we didn't have a partner ecosystem. We were losing deals because they were referring an inferior technology simply because they knew it best. And so there is a cadence of getting in front of go-to-market organizations to educate them on your offering, making sure we are top of mind when those conversations come up with their clients, and vice versa. So, I mean, again, I think of it exactly like managing an enterprise client organization, an enterprise client. We need to be connecting at the top of the organization. We want to be in the middle. We want to be in the field, and making sure that we're managing that relationship and everyone's getting what they expect out of the partnership.
That field education really is a form of storytelling, right? That's our external storytelling of the partnership. I'd love to take a minute just to talk about the internal storytelling. I think you alluded to this in an answer prior, but I think we've spent a lot of time telling our story through sales all hands, through QBRs, and making sure that our organization knows and understands who our partners are, what they do, what success looks like. Why do you think that's worked, and what do you think the risk is of getting it wrong, or when those negative stories maybe start
Yeah.
to surface? How,
Let me
how
start
do we
with
manage those scenarios?
no, that last point is where I want to start, right? Because what I have found through the years is that a negative partner story, right? Perhaps it's a story where a partner interferes with a deal or works against you in a deal. That negative partner story, maybe you're competing for budget because you're similar space and they decide to start with partner A instead of with you, right? Um, that negative partner story is going to get 10x the airtime across Slack and across your go-to-market org as the positive story do. I can tell you that because I know through the history we've had. I mean, the term that's come up more and more is this idea of co-opetition, right? Because partners generally are operating in the same space. There's a lot we can do together, but sometimes we're competing for the same budget, even if we're not offering the same or even similar technologies. But co-opetition happens, and all of this is education. All of this is education because we need the sales org, many of whom have never operated in this environment before, to understand this is going to happen. And by the way, it's probably happening in reverse on the other side as well. And that just means I don't like for it to become like a shouting contest between all the positive things that are happening and all the challenging things that might be coming up. But that's where you have to rely on a few things. The first is data. Look at the data. Right? Okay, so we had a negative situation come up. It got a lot of airtime, whatever, but overwhelmingly, this partnership is contributing in a hugely positive way to our business, right? And getting really good at tracking data, Kyle, which you and your team do incredibly well through our internal CRM tools. That helps us tell that story. And then there's the anecdotes and the stories themselves. And I'll give you an example of one that usually gets everyone bought in at Movable Ink. There was a deal that we had going back a few years with one of the largest retail beauty companies in the world, like a Fortune 50 type company, a big deal. And we had put a big number in front of them. And we found out later that it was competitive with a smaller player that didn't have the same technology, certainly did not have the same partner ecosystem that we have today. And we actually learned from their procurement that they were leaning in the other direction, that they were leaning away from us. Now, we knew in that particular retailer of at least 3 partners that were current vendors for that retailer. And immediately we went to work on our side. So my relationships, your relationships, et cetera, we hit up the VPs and the CROs from those three partners. And within a matter of 24 hours, we had 3 notes sent from each of those partners to the executive at this large retailer who was making the decision, the ultimate economic buyer, saying, hey, we understand you're evaluating company X and Movable Ink. We're familiar with company X. We're very familiar with Movable Ink. We've built a native integration into Movable Ink for these reasons. We prefer partnering with Movable Ink for these reasons. We've never worked with that other company in any meaningful way. And this is why you should be choosing Movable Ink. When you have 3 executives from trusted vendors reaching out to the economic buyer, they changed their tune pretty quickly, right? We won that deal. And we absolutely would not have won that deal without our partner ecosystem. Now, it's great that this story happened. But when you get to a certain size like Movable Ink, part of it is that the story happened, and the other part is the internal PR. That's a term I like to use, right? This has to get a lot of airwaves, a lot of press time, a lot of Slack time, time in the all hands, etc. Because if we don't tell this story and shout this story from the top of the hills, then people don't know it, right? And only the negative stories are what remain. So there's stories like that come up, and we give airtime to you and to the partner team to share partner wins on a monthly basis in our sales all hands and smaller groups as well. So there's more time for Q&A. But that internal PR about the impact, that drumbeat, that cadence of the success we're seeing with the partner ecosystem never goes away. And it's going to feel repetitive to you as a sales leader, as a CRO. It's like, oh, here we go again, talking about the partner team. But that's when you know it's working, right? Because you always have new people joining the organization. There's always 20%, 25% that have never heard this before. And you absolutely just have to keep that drumbeat going, so that enthusiasm about the partner ecosystem doesn't dissipate over time.
Yeah, and I think those stories answer the questions, why do I spend my time with partnerships? Why do I invest in knowing the partners in my region? Why, it's, you want to recreate those wins for yourself as a seller in your territory and your book of business. And in order to get there, you have to do all those incremental steps to ladder up. I often think about, partnerships don't happen overnight, right? We didn't get those endorsements because we found the person on LinkedIn and said, hey, you've never met me. Would you send a note to this client and recommend Movable Ink? It's because you've put in the work on your end. Our team on the partner side knows them very well, and it presents those opportunities. And so maybe we could talk a little bit about kind of selling the role of partnerships internally. You're obviously spending a lot of time with the other members of our executive team, and advocating on behalf of why it's worth investing in a partner organization. What's that experience been like? How do you help kind of communicate and sell the value to our other leaders? And what's, I guess in the end of the day, how do you show the value that we're bringing to the organization?
The real simple answer to your question is through metrics, right? I mean, we can see how the partner ecosystem impacts our win rates, our lead gen, and our retention, right? All across the business. It's really the center of all of our go-to-market efforts. The way we started, right? And I think part of your question, it goes to like comp plan design and all of that stuff, right? Like, how do we think about, is a partner sales rep successful, right? And how are we measuring their success? We started with a model that I think was pretty common, that may have come out of Salesforce, because I know you were previously with Salesforce, Kyle, which is something called attach rates. And the idea there is, hey, of all the deals we got done in a given quarter or a given year, what percentage of the ARR tied to those actually had a partner involved in supporting that deal? And there's certain metrics that I think everyone's gotten comfortable with: 60%, 70%, 80%, depending on your business, right? How much of your business has partners attached to it? And that's nice and that's valuable, and so on. There's also other partner ecosystems that often tie to opportunity generation. They say your goal as a partner sales rep is to generate 10 opportunities per quarter from the partner ecosystem. From my experience, and I think from your experience as well, that can get contentious at times, right? Because oftentimes, especially like us, we're playing in the middle of the ecosystem. Leveraging us to drive leads exclusively, I think, is misusing us as a partner. It's not the best way to use us as a partner and to get value from us as a partner. that's where we started. And I'm actually really excited about how we've matured. We've completely changed over the last, let's call it 24 months, the way that we measure our partner sales team's impact at an individual level. What we've done is we've changed from this idea of how much value has the partner ecosystem brought me in terms of opt-gen and win rates and stickiness and client retention to this other question, which I kept hammering you on, right? I kept asking you over and over again, Kyle, why, like, what value are we bringing to partners? Do we have any idea how partner X feels about us? Can we quantify that? And the answer was no, no, no. We couldn't. We've gotten a lot smarter about it. So what we've done is now we are gold on something that we call partner assists. And every partner sales rep is gold on setting a certain number and getting a certain number of assists out to the partners. So those can be conversations about customers, helping influence their deals, helping educate them on what our sales process looked like and what the decision makers are and how long the infosec process is and the legal process, all of that stuff, these syncs that happen between us and our partners. How many times did we assist our partners this year? And by the way, for the record, I think the number at Movable Ink is we're going to do over 500 partner assists, maybe over 700, Kyle, you keep me honest, partner assists this year. And we can look at how many accounts by partner, et cetera, and I can then bring those to my conversations with executives, CROs, and VPs of sales at our partner organizations. Say, here's where we're helping you. It's all done through Salesforce. It's all done through our reports and systematized in a really automated way that makes it really, really simple. And it just comes from this core philosophy that if you want to receive, first you have to give. And so we've become a giving first organization. And I don't believe by any of the metrics that we're going to have we've ever had a better year from a partner standpoint than this year. And part of that is just changing the mentality to assists as opposed to how they've helped us.
Yeah, we've gone as far as to reward and award that behavior in our QBRs by handing out partner assist awards. What's kind of been the reception of the organization when they see those, Jeremy?
It's so funny. Awards cost us next to nothing. Hopefully our sales team's not listening to this, but maybe $50, $100, whatever that is, maybe a physical award of some kind. But we used to give out something that we called the Partner Or Award, OAR. So we had this phrase that we want the partner org and the direct sales org to be rowing in the same direction. And so we had this concept of the Partner Or Award. We would engrave their name on it, congratulate them being the winner, and recognize them in front of the whole group. Now we have the Partner Assist Award. And they want it. Everybody wants it. Everyone's checking the leaderboard to see how many assists do I have, who's been helping partners more. So if you can play into the competitiveness that generally exists across a sales or a go-to-market organization, create leaderboards, create competition on who's helping our partners the most. Boy, does that come back to you in spades. And we've seen that be received exceptionally well. And again, not a very large financial investment to do that well.
Yeah, I mean, our top reps are providing 50 plus partner assists in a given quarter, which is a tremendous amount of value back to our ecosystem. And as then they, in turn look to get support from those same companies, ironically, they find those are the partners most willing to help them out. And so it definitely, we see it going full circle. Well, I think we're wrapping up here this session portion of the PLX day. I think we've touched on so many different things. I hope everybody has seen how you can successfully tie your partnerships organization to your sales organization. I report into Jeremy, part of our revenue organization. And I think that's driven this extremely close alignment between our teams to make sure that we truly are operating with a partner first mentality. Hopefully, a few of the tips shared here are things that you can implement into your organization. And so, Jeremy, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for teaching everything that I just shared with this group to me over the last 7 years, Kyle.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.